You heard, I am the place where God lives. God individualized. That is what he's singing about, and that's what we're talking about today. That's my talk, is God individualized. And I want us to ponder the idea this morning of dominion. Do we have it? If we have it, are we using it? So that idea of dominion comes from the book of Genesis in the Old Testament. And the book of Genesis is a story of creation. And it's a fascinating allegory if you read through it and look at it from a metaphysical perspective. It's a story of consciousness. It's a story of evolution. However, it's been interpreted and taught over centuries as literal. And I don't know about you, but when I read it and study it, which I've done, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's pretty far-fetched as a literal interpretation. So I look at it as an allegory. And as such, I find the beauty in this story. In it, first chapter of Genesis, the 7 days of creation you may be familiar with, all the way through up to day 6. Day 6, God creates all of the animals, the birds and the fish and the animals and everything, right? All of that. And then God creates man for the first time. Yes, there are twice in this book that man is created. Now, this first time, God creates man in her image. Male and female, God creates. This is the language. Now, is image imagination? Is that first creation really the thought, the invisible, the idea of man, humans? And when I use the word man in the talk today, I invite you to look at it as the big generic overview of man. It fits with the story. Kind of like we call cats cats and dogs dogs, even though they're male or female. It's just a definition, right? It's a feline or a canine, but we call them cats or dogs. We don't identify them by gender. So no gender bias. Okay, can we agree on that? And you just need to flip it in your head if you need to. Okay, good. So God creates man, female and male, for the very first time. And this 6th day, he then gives this image dominion. Name everything. Name everything. It's all yours. I'm giving you all of it. Dominion. You have dominion over it. Well, then the next day, the 7th day, God is tired. So she's got to take a nap on the 7th day. Whew. A lot of work creating the universe, right? Well, then sometime after that, it could be the 8th day, it could be, who knows, it could be millions of years later, man is formed out of the soil and we meet Adam. So that's the two creations. One in the imagination, one in mind, and the other then in form from the soil. Now, what does that sound like? Does that sound like our creative process, perhaps? Was this story an example to us of the creative process and how it might work through us? I think so. I think so. As I said, dominion in the book of Genesis has been literally translated throughout the years. I learned it that way. As a small child, I just knew that's how it happened. Anybody else with me on that? Yeah, that's how it happened. And until I really, then I just discounted it and said, that's not right. And then I began to learn it metaphysically and went, wow, there is truly a beautiful message here. There's a beautiful message here. But the idea of dominion has been interpreted in our world today that we have control of everything. We can control it all. We can plunder it. We can protect it. We can do whatever we want to. It's all been given to us. We can do it all. And dominion doesn't really mean domination, aggressiveness, and that sort of thing. Metaphysically, it means responsibility, like a sovereign. Responsibility. Ernest Holmes is the founder of Centers for Spiritual Living. He's the author of The Science of Mind. And in one of his writings, he answered the question, why was mankind given dominion? Why was mankind given dominion? Now, Ernest usually tells you what Ernest thinks. This particular writing, he starts off telling you what he thinks God was thinking. If I wish to have a man who's a real being, I must give him self-choice. He must be spontaneous, not automatic. He must have dominion over everything that is of less intelligence than himself. I will let him name everything I have created, and he shall have all things to enjoy, for his life must be full and complete if he is to express my nature. Spirit individualized, right? So this is Ernest's thinking. He goes on to say, God gave man dominion over all earthly things. Man was not given the power to govern the universe, but he was given the power to have dominion. God is infinite person, individualized in each one of us, making our nature like God's and giving us the same dominion in our field of action in our lives that the universal spirit has in its field. Pretty powerful stuff. Each of us is created from this one source, this one substance, infinite energy, God, spirit, whatever name you call it by. We call it God around here a lot. We inherit those qualities because we are of that substance. We inherit those qualities. But the question is, what do we do with that? What do we do with that? Once we really begin to understand our individualized expression of the divine spirit through us, what do we do with it? How do we take action on it in our lives? Do we reject our spiritual divinity? That can't be right. Or do we embrace it? Do we use it? Do we use it? Live from it. Live from that. Our book of the month this month is this little book called The Basic Ideas of the Science of Mind. It's written by Ernest Holmes, and as Reverend Lee shared last week, it was started out as an article in the Science of Mind magazine, and then it has subsequently become a book. And it's the core teachings boiled down into a bite-sized morsel from the big book, right? The big text that we teach from here. But it's got the basic ideas in it that you can learn and use. And then as it starts working in your life, you may become interested in reading the bigger book and doing more extensive study. But it's filled with confirmation that we are this individualized expression of the divine. And it shows us better ways to apply this in our lives. This whole idea of this book, The Science of Mind teaching, is all based on the idea of oneness and wholeness. It's all based on oneness and wholeness, that we are this individualized expression. We are one. To embody this truth and to then begin to come to terms with it, to accept it, to understand, no matter what's being expressed in the physical, no matter what's being expressed in the physical, but to always understand that we are that spiritual manifestation. Then we can begin to live from it. We can choose to live from it rather than on the outsides of it. As Daniel said, we're not ever disconnected from spirit. We're always in it. We can turn away. Gosh, that always reminds me of that joke. Have you heard it? The old couple's driving through town. They pass a young couple. They're sitting really close to each other, and the wife goes, I remember when we used to do that. Husband looks over from under the wheel and he goes, I haven't moved. Oh, oh, that's spirit. Spirit doesn't move. We move. And that's what Daniel was sharing this morning, that if we feel separate. But let's go back to the word dominion. As I said, it's come to imply aggressive dominion over something, but it is the idea of responsibility. In spiritual teaching, it means that we are responsible for our thoughts. We are responsible for our thoughts, the sovereignty of our own thoughts. It's the power that we use to consciously choose what we want to experience in our life. Are you consciously choosing what you want to experience in your life? Are all of your experiences to your choosing and your liking? Anybody ever struggle with this little concept called monkey mind when you're trying to meditate? How about we watch the evening news and our entire mental atmosphere shifts out of goodness into how can they do that? What is wrong with them? Or do you worry about the future? Those are ways we don't have dominion over our thoughts, aren't they? Those are ways that we don't have dominion. I often joke that the science of mind needs a devil because we don't have that to blame everything on, right? But what if our unruly thoughts is the enemy we need to defeat, that we need to control, so that we can regain the dominion that we've been blessed with as a gift of our birth? How might we do this? How might we overcome this enemy of our good and learn to change our thinking? How might we do that? Well, it's interesting. In this book, of all of the science of mind practices that we have, the one that Ernest writes about in here is the practice of affirmation. The practice of affirmations to change our thinking from unruly, from thinking about things that don't bring us joy and peace and harmony and the good, into alignment with what it is we desire. Transform those negative beliefs. And it's like the example of the glass of dirty water, and you just keep dropping clean drops of water into it consistently over time. It will get displaced. The clean water will displace the dirty water if you put enough of it in there. And the same is true here. Zig Ziglar used to talk about that as well, that, you get enough negative stuff out there every day without even trying. You've got to balance that out with some good and some positive things. Doing our affirmations, doing our readings, having empowering conversations with like-minded folks, building ourselves up, right? Building ourselves up. Ernest Holmes calls this process of changing our thinking preparing the soil of our minds. Preparing the soil of our minds. And if we think about our minds as a garden, it's where the good and not so good experiences grow, right? Everything grows in the garden of our mind. We're the gardener. Each one of us is the gardener of our own minds. Sorry, you can't hire a caretaker to do this one for us. We have to do it ourselves. So everybody's a gardener now. And we have dominion over this garden of our minds, and we get to choose the quality of the soil. We get to choose what kind of fertilizer we're going to use, the amount of sun and rain that is going to fall in our garden, and ultimately what seeds we're going to be planting in our gardens. We get to decide all that. First, as Ernest said, we have to prepare the soil. Anybody ever been in a garden, planted a garden, seen a garden, seen one on TV, slept in a Holiday Inn? No, kidding. Well, if you have, you know that there's stuff in the ground, right? There's rocks and weeds and sticks and clumps of dirt and all that. And seeds don't grow well in that kind of an environment, at least not as well as they could. So, in preparing the soil, we have to get rid of all those things. And in our metaphysical interpretation, those things are our doubts, our fears, our hidden beliefs, our not hidden beliefs, the things that we may know about that we just haven't quite healed yet. All of that stuff we need to till under. You know what a tilling machine is? It just kind of grinds up the ground and smooths everything out. We need to till the ground of the soil of our minds in preparation for planting the seed of our desire. We need to prepare it. We need to get rid of judgmental thoughts and things that don't serve us. The next thing we get to decide on is the fertilizer. And fertilizer adds nutrients to the soil, gives it a healthy mix in which the seeds can grow, right? So, what is the fertilizer of our garden minds? It's our memories. If we have memories of failure, if we have memories of negative things, if we're guilt ridden, if we're laden with lack and loss, doubt, our new seeds will grow in that same environment. They'll grow in that same environment. So they don't have the best nutrition to carry them forward in their growth and expansion, right? So again, that's part of getting prepared for the planting of these ideas in our minds, is cleaning up those memories. And we do that through reframing them. We do that through finding the silver linings in them. We do that through recognizing without what happened, I would not be where I am today. I would not be in this job, this relationship, this location, this financial situation, whatever it is. All of the things that happen to us on our journey called life are stepping stones to the what's next. And we get to, in our minds, interpret what all of that stuff means. It's up to us. Nobody else does. I mean, they can tell you, but it's really up to us to embody, what does that mean? What does that mean? And if your meaning does not serve you in positive and uplifting ways, change it. Change it. Find something. Talk to the practitioners. We can help you in that reframing. All right, so we've got fertilizer. Next, well, let's talk about fertilizer. One more thing. If we're planting seeds of prosperity, and our fertilizer is the old fertilizer, right? We may get the wealth because the law works on that stuff, right? But because it grew up in that environment of negativity and doubt and lack, we may lose it quickly. Have you ever had those things happen? Where it seems like you've manifested and then it falls apart and you go, what happened? What happened? It's because we haven't fertilized, we haven't cleaned up those memories, and it grew up in an environment that told it that it couldn't be lasting. So that's another reason for the fertilizer. All right. Our soil is prepared. We're ready to plant. And so now we choose what we want to plant in our garden of our mind. Are we planting carrots or watermelons? What are we planting? Why are we planting it? What is it that we want to see as the end result here? What is it that we want to see? Again, if I'm planting seeds of prosperity, but it's planted with fear and lack or unworthiness, shame, I'm not going to get the best results. If I plant it with joyful expectation of its manifestation, and I've healed those thoughts and those memories, it's going to manifest. It's going to manifest. So every step of our garden, from preparation to planting to harvesting, is important if we're going to reap that crop that we're desirous of receiving. So we've planted. Now what? Well, we know plants need rain and sunshine, right? So what's the rain and sunshine in our metaphysical example? It's our daily spiritual practice. You know I was going to get there, right? It's our daily spiritual practice. Because what happens in a garden? Weeds pop up, right? The bunnies come and nibble. The bunnies of doubt come and nibble the green shoots. So we have to constantly be vigilant with our spiritual practice to nurture those seeds that we've planted. If you've ever seen the experiments where it's scientifically proven, if you're nice to one plant and not nice to another one, the nice one grows better, right? We've all seen those examples. The same is true in our minds. When we plant those seeds, we have to nurture and love them and be kind to them, not doubt them. How many do that in your spiritual practice? How many have done that with this? Our January 1 goals. Every day in your spiritual practice, nurturing that goal, welcoming that goal. Yeah, that's how we do it. You see, we talk about the creative process and it works automatically. We're always using it. But we've got a little work to do to really activate it in our lives. We have a little work to do it consciously, to do it more consciously. So the final part of this is, has it come to pass? We hear that phrase a lot in the Bible, and it came to pass. It means the proper amount of time has passed for the harvest of that manifestation, that seed. What is the proper gestation time for it? Humans have, 9 months for a baby, rabbits 6 weeks, elephants 13 months or 15 months or something. I don't know what it is, but yeah, everything's got a gestation period, including seeds, including our manifestations. So did it come to pass? Excuse me. And then what did you get? Is it what you expected? Is it better than you expected? Oh my gosh. Not quite what you expected? You start over. We simply start over with the process. Excuse me. We prepare the soil. We get our fertilizer. Plant our seeds. We do our practices. We let the time pass appropriately. And we harvest again. This is an analogy, of course, of the creative process in all of our lives. It's how it works. Now, we may not be as conscious of every step in going through all of that. That was pretty long and drawn out. But it's what we do. It's how we use this process. We use it all the time. The question is, do you have dominion over the garden of your mind? Ernest says, we see the necessity of knowing ourselves better, to understanding our spiritual nature. We must also know the relationship of our mind, body, and emotions so that we can control them wisely and direct them for our own welfare. So if you would like to know yourself better and learn these practices and principles, I invite you to sign up for Mindful Monday. It's a newsletter that comes out on Monday mornings. You can sign up with the QR code, email me, or sign up in the lobby. We'll add you to that list. It's a recap of today's talk, and it's these practices in greater detail that you can then use and apply in your life so that you can begin to change your thinking about how life works. So you're practicing the principles for this week. Number 1, do you have dominion over your mind? Most of us don't have full control. Yes? Yeah. I mean, I get it. And it was interesting in Ernest's quote that mind, body, and emotions, and it's the emotions that get most of us most of the time. Something happens and that emotional energy comes up, and we have to find ways and tools to manage that. We have to find ways and tools to manage that. So meditation is our practice. Meditation is our practice. That's how we can gain better focus and dominion over our minds, our emotions, and our thoughts. It's also the gateway to the experience of oneness. The more time we spend in the silence, in the stillness, connecting with the one, the more connected we feel to the one. It's always there, but when we can slow down and feel that connection, then we begin to have a greater experience of it. So this week, I invite you to light a candle during your meditation time and to focus on the flame. Just stare at the flame. Stare at the flame. Stare at the flame. And when your mind wanders, and it will wander, gently bring it back to the flame and just continue to stare at the flame. Watch what it does. Try not to have thoughts or judgment about it. Just watch it. So set your timer for 5 minutes and do this flame focus meditation every day to help your mind learn to help to get dominion over your mind and your thoughts. It's a great exercise for that. Number 2 is affirm your way to success. If you discover a negative thought or a belief, pause and say, that's not true. That's not true. And then turn that around and create an affirmation for yourself and change that belief. If you are someone who speaks negatively to yourself, that's not nourishing your seeds. So that's something that we need to prepare the soil for and clean up. So when we catch ourselves talking negatively ourselves, that's not true. That's not true about me. What is true about me is this. And we affirm that. And we keep affirming that and keep affirming that and keep affirming that. That's how we begin to change that. An example would be, I feel sick. I feel sick. That's not true. That's not true. My body is made of pure intelligence, and every cell, knowing exactly what to do, is returning my body to complete and total harmony, health, and balance right now. Right now. And it came to pass, right? This is not funny. Yeah. But I said, returning my body. I could say, returns my body right now, but my mind's going to go, yeah, right. I don't know about yours, but mine does that. It doubts, particularly if I'm feeling really bad. It's really hard to get over that. So I say it's returning me now because I know every cell is infinite intelligence and it's smart and it knows what to do and it's already working. Everybody's on their little healing duties. It's returning me to my optimal health, restoring that. I can believe that. I can get behind that. So that's how we use our affirmations. Number 3, prepare the soil. Contemplate the garden of your mind. Discover and till any rocks, weeds, lumps, clumps, blumps, whatever, to get you a nice fertile plot for planting your seeds. Getting rid of the hidden and obvious beliefs, any thoughts contaminating the soil of your mind. Does anybody think they don't have any thoughts contaminating the soil of their mind? Just checking. Thank you. So we begin the process by transforming those thoughts, whether it's finances, physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual health, our relationships, creative expression, all of those negative thoughts around any of those topics, we convert to its opposite. We convert to its opposite. So this week, your practice is to spend time contemplating the conditions of the soil of your mind and taking action where necessary. In closing, Ernest said, "It is because the Spirit of God is incarnated in us that we have dominion over the world of effects. This dominion is exercised to such degree as we sense its true meaning." I hope I've given you some insights this morning as to its true meaning that you can take into your life this week. And so it is. And it is your turn. What questions, comments, complaints might you have? Lori? Oops.
You mentioned about the news.
Yes.
So my question is, how can we reconcile things that we see in the world that are, in my mind, untrue and not who we really are? People behaving cruelly, or war in particular.
Mm-hmm.
How can we do that without completely just shutting down and shutting it out and ignoring it?
The practices, after you ignore it for a while and get a little bit, is to use it as a source of your prayer work and to see where you are touched or enraged by something that you see, and then taking that into your prayer work. Had a powerful experience with someone this week where there was a negative event that happened and a lot of anger came up. And I will admit it wasn't instant, but it was pretty quick. Pray for that person. Pray for that person. So it's a deep spiritual practice to do prayer at that level, but that's our work. That's who we be as religious scientists. We see the spiritual truth. Who else? Stephen.
So I keep playing mental volleyball we do the treatment.
Mm-hmm.
We see it as to be happening now.
Mm-hmm.
Then you say, okay, it's in the process. And then the process to me seems like, okay, you're getting ready to, are you waiting? Help me clarify those terminologies.
And it came to pass, that one?
Well, it's I'm trying to further clarify the treatment, seeing it done now,
Mm-hmm.
already done.
Where is it done?
Repeat that.
Where is it done?
In my imagination.
In the mind of God. Yeah. So that's like the example that we gave with Genesis, with God creating man twice. In the mind, in the imagination, our spiritual mind treatment is spoken into the one mind, which we are a part of. So it's done, because that's how it works. Now, it may take, and it came to pass, a proper gestation period in order for everything necessary for that to manifest. Example, we're wanting to buy a house, and my house needs to sell, my loan needs to get approved, the house that I want needs to sell, needs to go on the market, those people need to find a house, they need to get, all those pieces and parts need to happen before I can get the perfect house of my dreams. But all of these other things out there, I can't coordinate them. I don't even know what needs to happen, but the universe does. Spirit knows. And so that is the gestation period, is the time that it takes for all that is necessary for this manifestation to occur, to come together and into perfect right alignment to be delivered to my door. And you have a great example of that in which you just manifested.
Fair. Thank you.
You're welcome. Who else? Yes.
I don't think this is really in the same talk today, but I've been pondering this. Okay, is every living thing is spirit, right? Everything. Every living thing is spirit?
God stuff.
Okay. Does every living thing have a soul?
That's a great debate.
Yeah. So when you kill mosquitoes, what are we killing? Are we killing spirit and soul?
No, you can't kill soul.
Okay. So when we kill our enemy insects and pests and things, I'm going, am I actually, what am I actually doing here?
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of schools of thoughts on that. And one is in that you don't harm anything. You escort them outside, back to their place where they belong, and we stay out of their environment and they stay out of ours. I've been successful with treatment for that. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You stay outside, I'll stay inside, and we're not going to cross paths. Had a spider infestation once. It's like, no. Didn't want to spray, didn't spray, and had that. But anyway, so we can't kill soul. There's that saying that spirit sleeps in the mineral, somebody help me, the animal, and whatever the third one, I can't remember the third one. But so spirit is in everything. It's all manifested of the one substance that is.
Yeah.
Soul is spirit to me. That's spirit, and we can't kill spirit. Even ourselves, if we were to, when we die, or if we were to take our own lives, we're not killing our souls.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the little critters that you're smacking because they bit you, you're retaliating against. You bit me, I'm going to smack you. The other way to look at it is go on to your next life.
See you later. Okay. I've
We
been
all have to-
pondering this. I'm going, okay,
yeah,
what am I doing?
We all really have to make our own peace with that.
Yeah.
I really believe we do, because I know that you have a challenge with mosquito friends. So
I do. Thank you.
Malaria to the next person.
right. Yes.
Well, I think related to the talk today is that we have dominion.
Sorry.
The dominion
Yes.
aspect. So I feel like, and that's where in our own life we have that strength, that power, that will, the decision to make the decision for our own. So
Yeah. And having dominion over the animals, you just simply say, mosquito, go away. I have dominion here. Stop. Bob.
If spirit, you equate it with energy.
Mhm.
Okay, so everything has a spirit. Water, trees, everything in the universe. And you can never destroy energy. It's never created or destroyed, so it just goes from one form to another. All right?
Very good. Very good. All right. One more. Anyone else? All right. Thank you all very much. You are wise, and I appreciate your sharing. Would you join me for an affirmative prayer, please? As we go within, simply relax and allow our minds to become still. And the recognition that there is only one power, one presence, one life. And that life is God. It is the infinite source and substance of all that is. It is love, unconditioned and unconditional. It is infinite intelligence and wisdom. It is energy. It is life itself. And all of that is here now, present, in, through, and as me, as an expression of it. And as I know this is true for myself, I know that it is true for each and every one of us gathered here today in this room, online, or listening later. For we are united in the consciousness of the one, and there is no time or space in separating us. We are one. We are that love. We are that peace and harmony, the joy, the intelligence, the wisdom, the divine order, the divine action. All of that is our birthright. For we are each individualized expressions of Spirit, living our lives as Spirit experiences itself through us, through all that has happened, and all that is happening, and all that will happen. It is all Spirit expressing through us as we individually choose. And so in this moment, I speak my word for and about each one of us this morning, knowing, claiming, and accepting that we are divine by birth. We are whole, perfect, and complete. We are sourced of all that is necessary, and all that we have spoken into our prayers, our affirmations, is already coming to us, through us, in this moment, and the next, and the next, and the next. I know for anyone that has anything on their hearts this day that they are seeking prayer around, that as they lift that into this prayer, that we hold that in the light and the love of our energy, of our peace, and we know, claim, and accept the manifestation of their prayer with them here and now. And so it is with a grateful heart, filled with thanksgiving and joy, that I release this into the action and activity of law, knowing that it is done. And we affirm this truth together by saying, and so it is.